the 21st century brings.
The reason I wanted to do this masterclass is to share the hidden depths of purpose that are behind space exploration.
Also, when we, against the orders of President Truman, when Allen Dulles brought in all the Nazi scientists and so forth, they went to two places. They went to CIA and they went to the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, which in our world we call it not a space agency. And as Kathy O'Brien has said so clearly, that's where the bulk of the mind control has been done.
Hidden depths of purpose that are behind space exploration.
Under our ELV certification agreement, we're undertaking vigorous engineering reviews with the Air Force. To date, we've delivered more than 30,000 data items to the Air Force and provided total access to our internal systems to more than 300 government officials for certification. And we hope to complete that certification this year.
We call it not a space agency. And as Kathy O'Brien has said so clearly, that's where the bulk of the mind control has been done.
Welcome to thinking, understanding, imagining what it might be like. Imagining.
For those who look at the checkbook for the country and say, we're out of money, why did we need to spend this $2.5 billion?
Well, you know, exploration is a fundamentally human thing, and more importantly, it's a fundamentally American thing. And that's $7 for every man, woman, and child. It's the price of a movie, and it's a movie I think the American people want to see. And it's a movie I think the American people want to see. And it's a movie.
That's where the bulk of the mind control has been done.
Now again, this is a NASA picture, and they claim that this is from Apollo 11. Now let's take a look here at the Earth in the background. Now, the climate, the clouds over the Earth is like a fingerprint. It's going to vary from day to day, and never two of them would ever match any other day in history. You can see there's this little star-like pattern, right, over the Earth here. And you see this little swirl going on there, and you see this kind of arc of clouds going on here. Well, here's an official NASA picture from Apollo 8. Notice it says Apollo 8 Earthrise right here. Apollo 8 did not make a claim to walk on the moon. They claim to have orbited the moon. But if you have seen my film, A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon, and the famous shot of Apollo 11 just pretending to be beyond Earth orbit, faking being halfway to the moon, they comment that this is the same deception that Apollo 10 did, which, like Apollo 8, claimed to orbit the moon in a rehearsal, but in fact, none of them ever left Earth orbit. And what a surprise, 50 years later, they still cannot leave Earth orbit. And yet they claim they went 1,000 times farther than that on the first attempt with 1960s technology, which is 50 years older than today.
Before we can send astronauts into space on Orion, we have to test all of its systems. And there's only one way to know if we got it right. No astronauts will be aboard. The spacecraft is loaded with sensors to record and measure all aspects of the flight in every detail. It all begins with launch, aboard a Delta IV Heavy. The spacecraft and the upper stage begin their first lap around Earth. Mission Control in Houston is monitoring the progress of the flight. Orion's over 100 miles up and going about 17,000 miles per hour. Just as it passes over the Indian Ocean, we lose communication.
Telephone and data is transferred over submarine cables.
Not satellite.
Not satellite.
Not satellite.
Not satellite.
Just as it passes over the Indian Ocean, we lose communication. Not satellite.
Not satellite.
On a balloon, people, look at this. Orion. Orion payload. Look at here. Inmarsat. You want to know where your satellite phone communications come from? A balloon, people. A balloon.
We lose communication.
A balloon.
So some of those are painted on.
It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
Then
there was another layer to sort of simulate the atmosphere.
And then there's this little bright spot.
It's called the specular highlight. So it's the reflection of sunlight off of water.
Those are the pieces, but you can't just slap them all together.
It just didn't look realistic. It looks kind of flat, or the clouds are sort of too see-through. So I just hit Command Z a lot.
There's artistry to creating the world.
What I imagine it to be.
Not satellite.
It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
As we get further away from Earth, we'll pass through the Van Allen belts, an area of dangerous radiation. Radiation like this could harm the guidance systems, onboard computers, or other electronics on Orion. Naturally, we have to pass through this danger zone twice, once up and once back. But Orion has protection. Shielding will be put to the test as the vehicle cuts through the waves of radiation. Sensors aboard will record radiation levels for scientists to study. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space. It's great to be a part of this first space flight for Orion, and we're looking forward to beginning a new chapter in human space exploration.
And it's a movie I think the American people want to see.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space.
The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore.
When you said that just now, did it sound stupid to you?
Kind of. So again, this is Apollo 8. Look up here, Apollo 8 Earthrise. And you'll see that little diamond pattern, the little swirl, and the little arc over the diamond pattern. And it's exactly the same picture here. That's from the surface, which is obviously a mission that claimed to have walked on the moon. Here's one where they claimed it took place, a year earlier, and we see the exact same cloud pattern, the same diamond, the same swirl, the same little arc over there. So it's obviously a picture composite. This is a composite, a fake picture of an Apollo mission. Now, if NASA claims, well, they simply composited it, deliberately, just to have a picture of the flag and the Earth together, well, then that is them admitting that they doctor Apollo pictures. It was much too complicated for them to pull off. That's why they never showed the Earth in a picture. And when they finally did, it was so far away and such a tiny dot, you can't even tell what cloud pattern is up there. But because I brought this fact up, NASA apparently constructed this picture here, which in an email they admitted was a composite. Now, they said in the email it was from 2 separate Apollo 11 pictures. Well, they got that wrong because obviously it's from Apollo 8. Here is the Apollo 8, image Apollo 8. And then, of course, here is the flag picture from Apollo 11. So they didn't even know what mission it was from.
But we destroyed that technology.
Let's take a look also at this article. It says Russia has to order extra Soyuz manned spacecrafts because NASA's replacements just to take astronauts to the International Space Station, which is only 250 miles up. So if you pick a city that's 250 miles away from you, that is the only distance that they can get to, above the Earth. The space station is only 250 miles up, and yet NASA, 50 years later, doesn't even have a spacecraft that can do that.
The problem is we don't have the technology to...
My legal name is actually Cynthia, so if you guys are looking for an employee named Cyndi Holland, it would have been Cynthia Holland. Just threw that out there because somebody posted on that.
You talked about here, you said that your office was next to a photo lab, and that's where the photographic history was kept, and it was off limits to most NASA employees unless you were escorted. Can you talk a little bit about that?
because I was right next to the photo lab, I became friends with all the guys who worked in there. One day, two of the guys who worked in there, I don't remember their names, but they were assistants. They weren't actual photographers. They were the guys who helped once, say some pics came back from a jet. These would have been the guys who would have helped sort it all out. So I left my office, and they were in front of me walking towards the NASA cafeteria, and I heard them saying, "I can't believe people believed in the moon landings," and they were laughing. And I was, of course, curious why anybody would say that. This was way before I ever thought the moon landings were fake. And I just kept listening to them, and they were not hiding it. They were being loud enough for me to hear. And they were laughing and making fun of people who believed in the moon landings.
They admitted was a composite.
Imagining.
The problem is we don't have the technology to...
Did it feel like the rocket was fast when it took off?
It was very surprising that it was so gentle leaving. And it was a very smooth, slow rocket going up. And once we were in space, then we were floating around.
You have to push your lungs forward through the drag of the atmosphere. Crushed into your chair, you're like a leaf in a hurricane.
It was very surprising that it was so gentle.
You have to push your lungs forward through the drag of the atmosphere.
And it was a very smooth, slow rocket going up.
Crushed into your chair.
It was so gentle.
You're like a leaf in a hurricane.
And it was a very smooth, slow rocket going up.
You have to push your lungs forward.
And once we were in space,
you're like a leaf in a hurricane.
Then we were floating around. But the rocket sometimes doesn't work.
Oh, we were fools to trust any man.
I hate to break this up, but I've got to be there when the balloon goes up. Yes, of course. I've got to be there when the balloon goes up. Yes, of course. I've got to be there when the balloon goes up. The balloon goes up. The balloon goes up. The balloon goes up.
But the rocket sometimes doesn't work.
After as president. The balloon goes up. The balloon goes up. The balloon goes up.
Does at the pole. So it's not actually a sphere. It's oblate. And officially it's an oblate spheroid.
We call it not a space agency. And as Kathy O'Brien has said so clearly, that's where the bulk of the mind control has been done.
The balloon goes up. The balloon goes up. The balloon goes up.
Then we were floating around. Sometimes doesn't work.
People freak out because the rockets sometimes blow up.
The balloon goes up. The balloon goes up.
And it was a very smooth, slow rocket going up.
So you spin, you know, when you spin pizza dough, it kind of flattens out. It gets wider in the middle. So Earth, throughout its life, even when it formed, it was spinning. And it got a little wider at the equator than it does at the pole. So it's not actually a sphere. It's oblate. And officially it's an oblate spheroid.
That's where the bulk of the mind control has been done.
That's what we call it. But not only that, it's slightly wider below the equator than it would be.
A little chubbier.
A little chubbier. Yeah. Chubby's a good word. It's like pear-shaped. 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 Pear-shaped.
Granted, these phenomena do not make space sound very inviting. Yet these are reasons why we should venture out into space instead of staying put. Because if we wait long enough, they will reach us here. I am not doomsaying. It is guaranteed by the laws of physics and probability.
Mind control has
Sometimes doesn't work.
Mind control has
Sometimes doesn't work.
Mind control has
Sometimes doesn't work. And that's a very dangerous part. So when that part is behind us, then we have successfully gotten this far, but there are always things that can happen.
Judith Resnick, the Challenger mission specialist, again hasn't even bothered changing her name. She's a professor at Yale Law. And finally, Ronald McNair, another Challenger mission specialist, claims to be his identical twin brother, Carl McNair. What are the odds?
We're wrong. But we are optimistic. And so are the people that built this. And that's good to have them really optimistic about what has been built.
Why has nobody been to the moon in such a long time?
That's not an 8-year-old's question. That's my question. I want to know, but I think I know. Because we didn't go there, and that's the way it happened.
But we destroyed that technology.
And if it didn't happen, it's nice to know why it didn't happen, so in the future, if we want to keep doing something, we need to know why something stopped in the past that we wanted to keep it going.
We must solve these challenges. But
the problem is we don't have the technology to...
Money.
For those who look at the checkbook for the country and say, we're out of money, why did we need to spend this $2.5 billion?
Well,
Money.
Why did we need to spend this $2.5 billion?
And it's a movie.
And other things need more money too. So having achieved what the president wanted us to do, and then what thousands, millions of people in America, and millions of people around the world. You know, when we toured around the world after we came back, the most fascinating observation was signs that said, "We did it." Not just us, not just America, but we, the world, different countries. They felt like they were part of what we were able to do.
That's where the bulk of the mind control has been done.
And that made us feel very good. Because we didn't go there, and and that's the way it happened. That's why you came here.
That's right.
To listen to me, because I wrote an interesting book. That's why you came here. Because we didn't go there, and
right.
Because we didn't.
Right.
Because we didn't.
Right.
Because I wrote an interesting book. And that's the way it happened.
Pan tam był. Czy Ziemia rzeczywiście jest kulą zawieszoną w kosmosie?
Jest płaska. Tak jak oczekują i nie spodziewałem się co prawda tego pytania, ale zapewniam pana, że jest płaska.
Generał Mirosław Hermaszewski, jak dotąd pierwszy i ostatni Polak, który odbył lot orbitalny. Dziękuję serdecznie za rozmowę.
Dzięki. Dziękuję, kłaniam się.
How do you know it's interesting? Because somebody selected that book.
When Alan Dulles brought in all the Nazi scientists and so forth, they went to two places. They went to CIA and they went to the National Aeronautics and Space Administration.
Because somebody selected that book.
And as Kathy O'Brien has said so clearly, that's where the bulk of the mind control has been done.
Because somebody selected that book. They must know what they're talking about. You gotta rely on other people.
Jest płaska. Tak jak oczekują i nie spodziewałem się co prawda tego pytania, ale zapewniam pana, że jest płaska.
They must know.
Że jest płaska.
They must know.
Że jest płaska.
Because we didn't. Because I wrote an interesting book. I try and say a lot of funny things.
What do you say?
Sometimes don't mean them.
I try and say a lot of funny things. What do you say? Sometimes don't mean them. Sometimes don't mean them.
Why don't you swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon? Why don't you swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon?
I'm not trying to get in the middle of anything.
To get out of here.
This is a hotel.
We'll call the police.
We
pay. Come on in here. We'll call the police.
Solicit
You like that? Why don't you swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon?
It doesn't, sir. I don't have nothing to do with this. But
Okay.
you cannot solicit on this property.
We just paid
now,
to rent out the penthouse to shoot up there. So
you can't solicit like this on this property.
keep shooting.
All right. Well, then I go through my measures.
Yeah. You got to keep shooting, man. Okay. Well, you can put it on your shoulder. Don't be shy.
Come with me, Buzz.
You really like attention, don't you?
You're the one who said you walked on the moon when you didn't. Calling the kettle black, if I ever thought of it. Saying
Will
I
you
misrepresented
get
myself.
away from me?
You're a coward and a liar and a thief. And a thief.
Zoe, what do you say?
Thank you.
You are very, very welcome.
I don't mean them.
And a thief.
And it's a movie I think the American people want to see.
Not satellite. Not satellite.
Jest płaska. Tak jak oczekują i
I did hear an engineer that I worked with at Lockheed Martin. I didn't hear. He told me. He said the Earth is flat, and this was in 2000. That would have been 2007. So he told me that.
All right, so
he was a very smart man.
That's an interesting story. So start, at the beginning of that. So what was the surrounding situation, or kind of what was the context for
Okay.
someone to tell you that in 2000 something?
So this would have been my Lockheed Martin employer, and this was on the F-117 program in Palmdale. I worked on the flight line, and one of my engineers, super smart guy, I do remember his name, but I won't be saying any names. I don't want to get anybody in trouble or
No, yeah,
anybody
that's
angry
fine.
with me. So he told me that the Earth was flat, and he didn't give me a lot of information. So in my head, I pictured the typical flat earth where the water's coming off the edges. And so I kind of laughed and I said, well, that doesn't even make sense. How can you even believe that? And so he didn't give me enough information for me to follow through with researching it.
Right.
But he definitely believed it. He wasn't kidding. He was very serious. He was a very smart man. So I thought it was odd.
Yeah, I would definitely think that.
Through the portholes, he and his observer saw the Earth. He said it seemed a flat disk with upturned edge, no curve. Now this is a scientist, pre-NASA, 1931. Why did he have a reason to lie? He was a scientist. He was telling you, this is what I observe, which is real science. I'm not going to make up a lie. I'm just going to tell you, this is what I saw. Pretty clear. You can go through this entire document if you want to. I'm just pulling out something that I found very interesting in 1948 from Russian scientists that was classified. They stated here that where it is not determinable at all of the points of space without the knowledge of the shape of the Earth, but since the shape of the Earth is not known. I'm not going to read all this, because if I read all this today, we'd be here for a long time. In fact, I cut out stuff. I just wanted you to see that a Russian scientific paper that was classified in 1948 states the shape of the Earth is not known. Now, let me remind you that we are always told, oh, we've known the shape of the Earth since 300 BC. How did Russian scientists, and let me just say that Russian scientists are not stupid people. In fact, reading through their documents, they seem to be more honest with themselves than a lot of American scientists.
It has been shown beyond any doubt that you cannot go the speed of light. You can go arbitrarily fast, approaching the speed of light, but you can't quite go the speed of light.
No, we taught you in school nothing can travel faster than light. You may remember that from school.
Right.
We lied.
Oh.
Okay. We lied.
Oh.
Okay.
It has been shown beyond any doubt.
We lied.
Oh.
Okay.
They must know what they're talking about. You gotta rely on other people.
It's that there are like Lego bricks from which everything in the world is constructed. These Lego bricks are particles, and the particles are the electron and two quarks. It's a very nice picture. It's a very comforting picture. It's the picture we teach kids at school. It's the picture we even teach our students in undergraduate university. And there's a problem with it. The problem is, it's a lie. It's a lie. It's a white lie. It's a white lie that we tell our children because, we don't want to expose them to the difficult and horrible truth too early on. It makes it easier to learn if you believe that these particles are the fundamental building blocks of the universe. But it's simply not true.
In fact, reading through their documents, they seem to be more honest with themselves than a lot of American scientists.
My name is Kat Bobineau, and I am a scientist. I graduated with a bachelor's in biology, and I graduated cum laude. I received my master's in biology at Cal State East Bay in Hayward, California. You can check me out on television with a cat nose, on YouTube with In the Know with Kat Bobineau, and at my website, katbobineau.com. I'm Kat Bobineau, and I am a scientist.
I've asked 3 ordinary people to come on a journey of discovery.
You're probably going, but Ebon, I checked the PBS site for the show, and it doesn't show Kat Bobineau anywhere as a cast member. It could just be coincidence that there's a black woman named Kat that looks exactly like her. Then I would reply, then just right-click on the website's page and click View Source. Then do a search for Kat Bobineau. You'll see the names of the cast members. Here's the odd thing. On the View Source, her name is spelled Kat Bobineau, like the way I've been spelling it, but she actually has an O instead of an A, and it should be Kat Bobineau. Really weird.
I try and say a lot of funny things. What do you sometimes don't mean them.
It worked. I'm not a scientist, and to be able to just do that off a whim and it just came to me, that was incredible. My name is Kat Bobineau, and I am a scientist. It worked. I'm not a scientist, and to be able to just do that off a whim and it just came to me, that was incredible. My name is Kat Bobineau, and I am a scientist. I'm not a scientist.
We lied. Okay.
They must know.
This is the title of one of the manuals. Everybody read this with me. Propagation of electromagnetic fields over flat Earth. Army Manual, February 2001. You can say, oh, Pastor D, the 1950s stuff and the 1960s stuff, oh, they just didn't know. They've learned stuff since. Right? Nope.
They must know.
So the world record for microwave, this microwave communications company, and just so you know, microwave communication says that finally they can be used almost anywhere as long as the distance to be spanned is within the operating range of the equipment, and there is a clear path, that is no solid obstacles between the locations. You see that? There can be no solid obstacles between microwave dishes. All right? This is their own words, not mine. Clear path. All right? So they set the world record for microwave link. Now, the world record that they set, what they did, they set one of these 50-foot microwave dishes on the beach in Cyprus. And let's put that map up here. And there it is. And this guy talked to them. Line of sight, making sure it's line of sight. So here's Cyprus, right here. And they put one here, and they put one on the coast of Lebanon. So across water. Now, I mean, I know that they try to tell us water's got a big bulge in it, right? But I've never seen bulging water. I've seen flat water, right? But 146 miles from the coast of Cyprus to the coast of Lebanon, this set a world record. It is recorded as a world record for microwave communication. Well, guess what? You do a little math. You do the math here. Let's find out if there's a solid obstacle in the way here, right? Well, here it is. 50 feet high, 146 miles. You calculate that. 12,575 feet of bulge or curvature. 12,000. How high is Everest? How high is Mount Everest? I can't remember. 14,000? Is it? Get this. The antenna, the microwave dish, should be at least 2.38 miles below the line of sight. Not 2.3 feet. 2.38 miles should be of curve should be blocking the signal. Meaning this signal should have to be bounced off the dome and back down like they do other signals. But no, this is straight line of sight. Okay. Am I stupid? Are these people stupid? People and governments of the world are buying this product from this Exalt 1 Extend Air company. It's refraction. Gravity and refraction.
I try and say a lot of funny things. But sometimes don't mean them.
Gravity and refraction.
What is gravity?
You have no idea. Okay, next question.
Wow.
No, here's the difference. We can describe gravity. We can say what it does to other things. We can measure it, predict with it. But when you start asking, like, what it is, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. You have no idea. Okay, next question.
Gravity and refraction. Present equations hold for any altitude. Everybody see that? I don't have time to read all of it. Present equations hold for any altitude. All right, let's see what they're talking about. Table of contents, introduction, validity of flat Earth assumption for atmospheric calculations. Validity. You know what validity means? Something that is a solid fact. Let me back up. Remember, present equations hold for any altitude. So some of this study of basic atmospheric equations, this is for any altitude. And this is the introduction. This is the table of contents. Introduction, the validity of flat Earth assumption for atmospheric calculations. If it wasn't flat, if the Earth was not flat, why would you start off a classified, under threat of law in the Espionage Act, why would you classify that? It's all here, folks. Introduction here says a comprehensive study of atmospheric refraction errors for optical instrumentation. What is it based on? Based on a flat Earth assumption, will be published subsequently. The relative mass of the atmosphere at any elevation angle is given approximately by the cosine of the elevation angle. I may be pronouncing some of this wrong, but listen, this relationship is correct for a flat Earth and a flat atmosphere. This relationship is correct for a flat Earth and a flat atmosphere. And they're going to publish these results. So we just saw one document say, this is the correct underlying physics, flat non-rotating Earth. We see this document right here say, this is correct for any altitude.
Conclude this point by saying that you've accepted that it was based on an assumption. Do you still maintain that position?
Well, it's the standard model of the
Sorry,
world.
the standard model has no scientific backing. It is an assumption, correct?
Well, it's the standard model.
Sorry, the standard model has no scientific evidence. You only assume a value of R. Correct, Mick? For crying out loud, man.
Yeah.
Comprehensive study of atmospheric refraction errors for optical instrumentation. What is it based on? Based on a flat Earth assumption, will be published subsequently.
You only assume a value of R. Correct, Mick? For crying out loud, man.
Yeah.
But it gets better. He says that to study the near-sun halo and also the sun on the surface perpendicular to these rays. The dissertation contains a certain formula of the brightness of the sky, taking into consideration only the brightness of the first order, derived on the assumption of a flat Earth and giving some conclusions. Because remember, they're trying to study how light is operating within the atmosphere with a near sun halo, and they tell you over flat Earth. This is a Russian document, 1957.
One of the most frequent comments I see by flat earthers is, show me the curve.
There it goes again, curvature, because of the lens distortion.
I read that almost every day on my own channel.
And we're back, plane is level again. And where's the curve, Adam? Where's the curve?
Now, we have shown balloon footage with curve, but clearly flat earthers are not going to believe it until they see it with their own eyes.
Oh, would you look at that? Yeah, well, would you look at that? Yeah, oh my gosh, just look at it. Just look at it. Just look at it. Yeah, well, what the heck is that?
So now you have no more excuses. There is a company that will take you for a flight in a MiG-29 to an altitude of higher than 17 kilometers, and they guarantee that you will see the curvature of the Earth.
And if they have it fitted with a camera that doesn't use a fisheye lens, I mean, that thing's going up to 120, 121, 127,000 feet. and spinning in 360 degrees and showing the horizon flat as a pancake, as opposed to the Red Bull video or, you know, typical NASA video, which is always, it seems like always shot with a fisheye lens. And that's easy to tell when they're using a fisheye lens. First of all, like in the Red Bull deal, when that dude gets out of the capsule and stands out and they cut to the camera outside looking at him, the curve of the Earth is so ridiculous. The size of the planet would have to be less than that of the moon. And that dude would have to be jumping from like millions of miles away, or at least hundreds of thousands of miles away. I mean, the curve is just insane. And whenever the camera tilts at certain angles, I mean, it goes from convex to flat to concave to flat to convex to you know, it's going all over. It's an incredible morphing Earth. That's what happens when you use a fisheye lens. And a lot of the cockpit footage that I've seen from like this Russian MiGs and stuff that people are sending me that get up there really high, same thing. In fact, you can look in one of the shots over the pilot's shoulder there. The wing is all warped because of the curvature of the windshield. So yeah, I mean, we got to be careful with curved lenses or glass that we're looking through. And that's why, for me, I've basically had to just throw most of that stuff out because it's inconclusive at best. Because you look at one and it says, oh, well, there's a curve. And you look at another and it says, well, no, there's not a curve. You know, same altitude.
At that altitude, the curvature of the Earth will be unmistakable. I have seen it myself from 51,000 feet. In this aircraft, you will be going higher, and if you take the flight, they guarantee you will see the curvature of the Earth.
Wow, he's in space. Look at that. No, he's not. At that height, you don't see the curvature of the Earth if you are 2 millimeters above this beach ball. You just don't. That stuff is flat. That stuff is flat.
Let's listen to what race car driver Josh Car 2 says during the flight.
Stuff is flat.
We lied.
Oh.
Okay.
The derivation and definition of a linear aircraft model. In the introduction, they flat out say right here, this report documents the derivation, which means the origin, and the definition of linear aircraft model for a rigid aircraft of constant mass flying over a flat, non-rotating Earth. Everybody see that? Derivation means the origin. Definition means this is how it's defined. This is how it works. So they're talking about the equations, and I mean, you want to talk about the calculus and trig this thing gets into. The equations are based on these airplanes flying over a non-rotating flat Earth. Question: why would this be in any technical manual of anybody if it doesn't exist?
I just want to say thanks for the smooth flight.
Right.
I did have one question. Is there like a specific angle of downward tilt you have to fly at to
3 degrees.
3 degrees for the curvature of the Earth?
Oh, for the Earth?
Because yeah.
No, we just fly over the troposphere.
Really?
Yeah.
But do you have to keep like kind of going down because?
No, we actually have to nose up. It flies like that.
Really? Because I was reading some stuff on the flat Earth that made a lot of sense. Have you looked into it?
Which one? Sorry?
I was reading a lot of stuff on the flat Earth.
Okay, yeah. True.
It's true?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, cool.
All
Hey,
right.
God bless, brother.
All right, have a good one.
You too.
Which one? Sorry?
I was reading a lot of stuff on the flat Earth.
Okay, yeah. True.
It's true?
Yep.
This is interesting because he talks about, it gives you this little frame reference. Look at north, south, east, west, right? And they're telling you that, again, that represents the Earth fixed axis system. Everybody see that, right there? The radar provides range, azimuth, and elevation data from radar site to the vehicle throughout flight. So we're talking about stuff happening throughout flight, right? The data in conjunction with wind data can be easily converted to pitch, blah, 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 flight, path, angles. It is assumed herein that the Earth is represented as a flat and non-rotating reference frame. Why would it be assumed that the Earth is represented as a flat, non-rotating reference frame? Exactly.
Casey, how are you, mate?
Nice to meet you.
Pleased to meet you, guys.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
I've been flying,
Yeah.
and I've come to the conclusion
Yeah.
there is no curvature. I never allow for curvature. There's no way there's curvature. We're round and flat, aren't we?
Definitely.
We are, aren't we?
Flat as a
Thank
pancake,
you,
mate.
sir.
Flat as a pancake.
We're so, and the outer ring is south.
Yeah.
And so north must be in the middle, correct?
Possibly.
That
Yeah.
would be the only way that a
Yeah.
magnetic compass works on a flat plane.
Might be onto something there.
Yeah,
Might be
but
onto something.
you're not having me on. We
No,
are.
no, haven't you?
We're round and flat,
Flat
aren't
as a
we?
pancake, mate. Yeah. There you go.
Thank you, man.
No worries.
You made my day.
I'm going to tell you, I'm blown away, but let's this Earth fixed system is interesting here. Why I say Earth fixed? Isn't it supposed to be spinning, tilted, orbiting, flying through the universe?
I just got one question to ask. Flat or a ball?
Flat or a ball? What's that?
Well, I never feel as breaking round. If we live on a ball, surely we'd have to fly around it. Yeah, it feels like flat or a ball.
Flat, not a ball. I think it's flat.
Yeah, me too.
Pretty flat to me.
It certainly does, doesn't it? And you've got that flight instrument down there to keep it flat.
Gravity exists.
Gravity? There's an unproven theory.
No, it's not.
What is gravity?
I have no idea. Okay, next question.
Wow. Let's rock and roll. Cheers, fellas. Thank you very much for the flight.
How can we go all the way around them?
All the way around? Because if it's a disc, you go all the way around that way.
Nah.
You
You can go all the way around that way as well.
Oh, ask the captains about flight time. Look at that instrument behind his wheel to keep himself level at all times. Go on then, boys. Let's roll.
Here's what they say. Equations for angles of attack and side slip relative to both rolling and non-rolling body axis system are derived for a flight vehicle for which radar and gyroscope attitude data are available. The method is limited, however, to application where a flat, non-rotating Earth may be assumed. The application for this whole thing has to be based on a flat, non-rotating Earth. Wait a minute, how many documents are we into here?
Got a couple of serious questions to ask you.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, it's a big time. Curvature.
Curvature?
Yeah.
Yep.
We don't allow for curvature, do we?
For anything, not for you usually. Yeah.
No, we're round. We're a disc, aren't we? Round and flat.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Hey, look, honestly, quite seriously,
Yeah.
we are, aren't we?
Yeah.
The missile position in space is computed relative to a flat, non-rotating Earth. April 1961, NASA technical document.
The flights, you might not know this because you don't program them, but the flight simulators are programmed for a flat surface that you're flying over. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I don't know exactly, but the visuals do look pretty flat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that it looks the same when you get up in the sky?
Yeah.
Have you noticed that it looks the same when you get up in the sky?
Yeah.
A model frequently used is that of, everybody say it, flat, non-rotating Earth. The most one can profitably simplify the problem is to consider the isothermal atmosphere, plane level surfaces, and a non-rotating Earth.
That's it, man. They say flat Earth more than we do.
They say flat Earth more than we do.
I did hear an engineer that I worked with at Lockheed Martin. I didn't hear. He told me, and he said the Earth is flat.
I was reading a lot of stuff on the flat Earth.
Okay, yeah. True.
That's true?
Yeah.
I think it's flat.
Yeah, me too.
Pretty flat to me.
We're round and flat, aren't we?
Definitely.
We are, aren't we?
Flat as a
Thank
pancake,
you,
mate.
sir.
Flat as a pancake.
That's it, man. They say flat Earth more than we do.
They say flat Earth more than we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. True.
Walter and I were doing a training mission around the United States where you just were building up hours and time.
And we take off out of Beale, hit a tanker in Idaho, rip on up to Montana, zip across Denver, hang a right turn in Albuquerque, out over Los Angeles, up to Seattle, back into Sacramento, 2 hours, 21 minutes. And you just do that then you do it backwards, and you hit a tanker. It was just to gain crew coordination, build your hours. We're on our last training mission. We're over Tucson. I can see downtown LA from Tucson. We're at 89,000 feet. I can see the whole western United States bathed in a warm October fall glow.
SR-71 Air Force pilot Brian Schul states that he was flying above Tucson, Arizona at 89,000 feet, and he was able to see Los Angeles and the whole western seaboard. Now, of course, this is not possible if the Earth is in fact a spinning ball, because Brian Schul's max view distance would have only been 365 miles, Los Angeles being covered up by 9,970 feet of curved Earth. Let's continue.
I can see the chain of Rocky Mountains from Canada to New Mexico.
Oh, what was that, Brian? Did you just say you could see all the Rocky Mountains from New Mexico to Canada?
I can see the chain of Rocky Mountains from Canada to New Mexico.
I guess Brian did say that. So, from the tip of New Mexico to the very edge of Canada is 1,150 miles. Now, I'm assuming Brian was still flying over Tucson when he saw the Rocky Mountains, but even if he wasn't and was in the middle of the Rocky Mountains, his max view distance would not allow him to see either New Mexico or Canada, simply because the Earth is supposed to be curved. If Brian was still flying over Tucson, Arizona, and saw the Rockies extend from New Mexico to Canada, that's 77 miles of missing curved Earth. If he was in the center of the Rockies, he still only has a max view at 365 miles at 89,000 feet. Folks, throw your globes in the trash, wipe the tears away. The Earth is flat, proven by the United States Air Force.
This is my buddy Mike, and I'm meeting him here at the FE 2018. And Mike, you're a pilot, right? Yes. And so you're at this Flat Earth conference, and I got to ask you, why would you be at a Flat Earth conference if you're a pilot?
I'm here at the conference just to meet other people, to mingle a little bit, find some kindred hearts.
Awesome. And by kindred, you mean you agree that she looks...
That the Earth is a flat plane.
Awesome.
There's no doubt in my mind. I've been a pilot for many years. I'm also an aircraft technician. I've worked on gyro systems. I've worked compartmentary aerospace on the MX missile at one time. I've worked for a major airline for over 30 years.
Now, did you at one time think it was a ball?
Oh, yeah. So I was brought up the indoctrinated public school system.
Yeah. True. I mean, think about it. They claim the Coriolis effect, that snipers have to calculate the spinning of the Earth, the Coriolis effect, when they're shooting at, 1,000-yard shot or something.
It's bizarre because snipers have been using the literal curve of the Earth to plan where bullets go. That's
if they
how
want
you
it that
plot
precise.
out.
Oh, yeah.
When you have to. When you shoot at a mile,
Yeah.
when you're shooting like well out over 1,000 yards, those factors.
All right, one of the things that pops up in every one of our long-range rifle classes is Coriolis effect and spin drift, okay? It's in every ballistic program. It's out there. It's in some manuals. And it's theory, okay? Here's where I'm coming from. I was on several long-range rifle and sniping type web pages where there's interaction between the folks that are on them. And a question came up from a kid that was a brand new Army sniper. He was getting ready to go to sniper school, and he was worried about how he was going to pass this course. So of course he put it out there to any Army snipers, hey, what am I going to get to go through? What do I need to work on? And one of the answers he got really pissed me off. It was, you need to worry about Coriolis and spin drift more than anything else. Now, given the plethora of other information, mathematical equations on range estimation, sight alignment, sight picture, breathing, trigger control, follow through, prepping for the next shot, all these things result in quality accuracy downrange if you do them properly. Coriolis and spin drift are theory, okay? Whether you want to agree to this or not, it's somebody's mathematical theory.
You have to.
So Brian, how long did you guys train to account for the Coriolis effect when you were learning to shoot?
Never.
Never? That means never. Why not, Brian? If the Earth's rotating, then wouldn't you have to take that into account? Wouldn't that affect, or what were you shooting?
120 and below.
Okay, so what's the max distance on those things?
Pretty far.
Would you say farther than your standard or average rifle bullet?
Oh yeah, several miles.
Okay, so see, this doesn't make sense. We get all these documents about we have to take the Coriolis effect into account for ballistic missiles and ballistics. None of our actual field manuals, which are very hard to get a hold of, the actual training manuals, ever mention this, and none of the soldiers or people we talked to ever mention
They do. Wait,
this.
I got to correct you on that. There is a Coriolis effect supposedly in the training manuals, and I've seen them, just never used them. Never had to use them.
So you actually seen them in a real manual, not made for public release, not labeled top secret, and made.
It's called a firing table. It's called a firing table. Yeah.
Okay.
Table. There is supposedly in there, but we never used it ever.
Were you told not to use it?
No. Just never.
Isn't it because it doesn't? You don't have to start accounting for it until they say like over 1,000 yards or whatever, right?
No, I mean no. I shoot a lot further. I shoot further than that.
Or not? Maybe.
It's kind of like if you ask a geodetic surveyor when does he use the math for the curvature. They know it, but they've never used it. It's one of those things they're taught, but they've never actually used it.
So this,
you know what I'm saying?
Does this table take into account for different places? Like maybe if you're stationed, in South Australia, the spin rate of the Earth is far different than, say, if you're stationed in Texas.
It does and it doesn't. See, the problem I've had with it is it takes in latitude of where you are and longitude, but it doesn't take in effect which way you're firing, which would technically you'd have to know which direction you're firing, no matter which way you are. Because east and west would be exact opposites reaction.
Right. So then that's actually in manuals.
There is a calculation in manuals that you can find, but ironically it's not used. Here's my quick question, real quick. What is this hangout? What am I in? What did you all draw me in?
I don't know. I think it was Candy's idea.
Well, it's fine. I'm just
glad you answered that. You answered a great question.
This is the roast of Brian Burton. Didn't you hear?
Yeah, he's here.
Oh, I don't give a shit. You roast me all you want. I don't care. I'm just curious. Here's the thing, okay? There is calculations in the manuals and all that. However, it's just like my tanks. In the tanks, they have computers that calculate all this shit, supposedly. We got gyros and everything else, okay? However, when, for lack of better words, I don't know if we're live or not, when shit hits the fan, I have manual ways of doing things, and nowhere do I put in where I am on the planet, as they call it, or which direction, or Coriolis effect, or anything else. Nowhere do I ever do that in manual calculation. There is a formula to do it, but never had to do it, and I've never missed, so I'm not too worried about it. So no, I do not. Those stories of snipers taking effect and all that never happened. And I've known snipers, and they've never done it either.
So these are your YouTube Gunworks type snipers that shoot tin cans out in the backyard.
Okay, I'm talking about military grade snipers that actually shoot.
So the military grade snipers do not take into account the Coriolis effect.
I've asked. I've never met one to actually do it.
I was talking to a Marine on Saturday at the meetup with Jaron in Palmdale, and he's an instructor, and he's still not for the military anymore, but just private.
Right.
And we were talking about like the Coriolis and curve of the Earth and spin of the Earth and all that, and he was just it's a bunch of crap.
It is. It's a bunch of crap.
So then, if that is in your manual, Brian, then do they explain in the manual how an aircraft would be able to land again if they have given you calculations for the Coriolis effect and ballistic firing?
No, see, here's the funny thing. They don't really explain. So when I calculate where, excuse the animals, when I calculate where a round goes, they give us this formula, and there is a spot to put, quote, your latitude, longitude, but when you do the math and all that, it's irrelevant. It's almost doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
There was no difference. So the natural interpretation, and even Einstein admits this, Mach admits this, Born admits this, the natural interpretation is that the Earth isn't moving. So how do we get out of that? Well, you invent special relativity.
It's a dummy equation.
Called the Lorentz transform, and it's probably the most famous equation used in physics today.
It's a dummy equation.
Does anyone expressly admit that, hey, we had to come up with this contraction effect because otherwise we're stuck with a motionless
Yes,
Earth?
the very guy who invented it.
They don't tell you that. They just, this is what you do, and this is what we do, and we do go through this stuff. But you never take effect of where you are on the, I'm going to have to use global terms, sorry, where you are on the planet and which direction you're facing and how high up you are, and the calculations aren't there. It's almost a dummy equation in there. You don't need it. You really don't. I've never had to use it and never had a problem.
Okay. Well, that is interesting, Brian. I appreciate you sharing that with us. You know, and that's my thing. If those calculations were needed, then my thing is airplanes would also be affected. And
exactly. Airplanes would need it. Helicopter, balloons, all kinds of things.
And there's no way a helicopter, airplane, or balloon is going to land on something that can spin much faster than what it's rated to fly.
And also, you got to figure too, think about a guy on the ground. There is no way he can calculate or have the instrumentation, not only to figure out where he is exactly, but which direction he's firing, and to do the calculation for how fast it's turning. And that's a heck of a math problem. Maybe a computer could do it, but a guy on the ground, nah.
So have you been in combat situations before?
Yes.
And so when you're in combat situations, isn't reaction time important?
Yeah, if you don't react, you die. It's pretty simple.
Okay, so you probably wouldn't have the 10 minutes or so to sit there and figure all that out, would you?
No. No, our manual, the way I fire my tank manually and all that, no, we set everything up prior for a manual shooting. But like I said, once I go to manual, there's no where I am on the planet. There is no which direction I'm firing. Is it going north, east, west for the spin or anything? It's not there. None of it's there.
And you've never had issues, no matter where you're at, not calculating the Coriolis effect?
Never.
And one of the answers he got really pissed me off. It was, you need to worry about Coriolis and spindrift more than anything else. Now, given the plethora of other information,
mathematical equations, range estimation, sight alignment, sight picture, breathing, trigger control, follow through, prepper for the next shot.
all these things result in quality accuracy downrange if you do them properly. Coriolis and spindrift are theory. Okay, whether you want to agree to this or not, it's somebody's mathematical theory.
Okay, next question.
Yet they don't have to for Mach 1, 2, 3, 4 aircraft. You don't have to calculate the spin. No. This is just about, these planes fly over, non-rotating flat air. So, oh, well, Pastor Dean, this is what I heard. Oh, well, they're just doing that to simplify the equations. Oh, really? I'm sorry. I didn't know that NASA rocket scientists and MIT mathematicians couldn't factor in 8 inches per mile squared. I'm sorry, they have to simplify the math. Maybe they missed a class at MIT or something. I don't know. But this is crazy. Now, you can try to dismiss this if you want to, but it's also in the conclusion. The concluding remarks of the report and all the math and the equations. Look at that. This report derives and defines a set linearized system matrices for rigid aircraft of constant mass flying in a stationary atmosphere over a flat, non-rotating Earth. I didn't write that.
Okay, so let me break that down for you real quick. So inside the gyro system that he was talking about, the gyro system, in this case, the black box, was made by Honeywell. The alignment calibration module is not made by Honeywell. It's subcontracted out by another company, and that company has it sealed to where only they are allowed to work on it, but they don't ever work on it. They just swap them out. They just swap out the parts. So what happened was this particular alignment module broke before he could fly. The weird, on the weird circumstance, they couldn't get a new one in there, so he flew the 6 hours without using it. And the plane should have drifted because of the curvature and the Coriolis effect, otherwise known as the spinning of the Earth. And it didn't. The plane didn't drift for 6 hours on a 777. That's a flagship, top of the line stuff there. Why didn't it drift? And he was trying to figure out why. He couldn't figure it out. And in the process of trying to figure out what happened, he discovered that this module, this module is made by exactly one company, and they supply every airline in the industry. And when you try to call them, they don't talk to you. And they're a subcontractor for NASA. Remember what I said about if you want to plug the holes, you want to do it very securely, when it comes to hiding things, and this would be that thing. So to keep the pilots from not worrying about it, you tell them there's a guidance system inside their plane that accounts for the curvature and the spinning of the Earth, and it doesn't. And you hope to God something like this doesn't happen, to where it breaks, and the pilot goes, well, wait a minute, how am I flying normally without that thing working? Why have that thing in there at all? And when you call the company to figure out what they're actually doing, they won't talk to you. That's brilliant.
Natural interpretation is that the Earth isn't moving. So how do we get out of that? Well, you invent special relativity.
It's a dummy equation.
Called the Lorentz transform, and it's probably the most famous equation used in physics today.
It's a dummy equation.
Does anyone expressly admit that, hey, we had to come up with this contraction effect because otherwise we're stuck with a motionless
Yes,
Earth?
the very guy who invented it.
They don't tell you that. They just...
In science, we always say that you make observations, you have a theory, you go make more observations, and it's a very, very tedious process. Wrong. Nobody that I know of in my field uses the so-called scientific method. In our field, it's by the seat of your pants. It's leaps of logic. It's guesswork. It's guesswork. It's
Public school system.
There is a crisis in cosmology. Usually in science, if we're off by a factor of 2 or a factor of 10, we call that horrible. We say something's wrong with the theory. We're off by a factor of 10. However, in cosmology, we're off by a factor of 10 to the 120. That is 1 with 120 zeros after it.
Say what?
This is the largest mismatch between theory and experiment in the history of science.
Okay, next question.
Public school system.
The place where the Earth is right now seems very dry. So if the Earth formed as a dry rock around a hot young star, then how did this water get here?
Every possibility has problems. Every possibility has problems.
Okay, next question.
You say something's wrong with the theory. We're off by a factor of 10. However, in cosmology, we're off by a factor of 10 to the 120.
Your career and your writing and your acting, you've inspired so many people to enter the sciences. How do you balance science with science fiction? They're both the same.
Big win for truth. Magistrate Court of Barrow County, state of Georgia, has given the victory to what is demonstratable and provable. This all started when Garcia offered a challenge to anybody who could prove that the Earth had a curvature rate at its given diameter, or they could prove that Earth had some type of movement that was over 50 miles an hour. In the court of law, neither one could be proved, which is very interesting because the judge had to decide this case based on the information provided by the litigants. And so we have to ask ourselves the question, since Flat Earth won, did the person backing the spinning ball Earth theory provide enough information for the judge to convince her to take their side? And the answer is no.
Nobody that I know of in my field uses the so-called scientific method.
I mean, I would have thought on that basis alone, the case should have just been thrown out. It's like your requirement was real world, not computer simulation. So
William, the guy that had sued me, and he was upset, so irate. She said that he turned blood red when the ruling went down against him, and the bailiff and the judge could see that, and they actually held us back to allow him to go forward, and waited till he was seen in the parking lot before they, released us to go out. He was so upset.
And a thief.
Okay, next question.
They were talking about this right here. I found it interesting. The minutes of the meeting, they're talking about putting Psalm 19 verse 1 on the Vanguard rockets. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. I find it interesting that we're talking about this, but at the end of this document, I found a very interesting thing here. And you see that, there's that verse, Psalm 19, that is very clear geocentric. Somebody else had that Psalm 19:1 on their tombstone. Yes, Warner von Braun. The firmament, talking about the firmament. They knew it existed. But this document, as we'll get to it here in a second, let's see here, makes this statement at the end. The shape of the firmament, do you see that? Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold up now. Wow. I think only certain solid things have shape, right? The shape of the firmament. Does everybody see that? You see that? What is a classified document? Classified by the United States government, talking about the shape of the firmament. I can tell them what the shape of it is. Right? But they're talking about this. How does an atmosphere, invisible vapor, how does it have a shape? I mean, when the vapor gas...
But Bill, there is no big glass dome over the Earth. I know, okay. But there is a big gas dome. A big gas dome, get it? Glass dome, gas dome, are you with me? Huh? Earth is not a closed system. Get it? Glass dome, gas dome, are you with me? Huh? Now, one thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go. There's no place to throw your trash. Earth is not a closed system. Earth is a closed system. Glass dome, gas dome, are you with me? Huh? So just let go of the idea of throwing stuff off the Earth. It's just too easy a solution. We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go.
One of the guys, half of them are Catholic as it turns out, so much for Catholics not doing Bible studies. One of the guys came up to me and said, I just want to let you know, I believe in the absolute truth that creation was made in the 6 days just as described in the book of Genesis. And that's my religion. I just want to let you know that ahead of time. And I'm thinking, have you actually read Genesis? Where it says the world is flat and it's covered with a dome and there's water above and below the dome. Where does the shuttle go?
Right in the middle. Oh no, it's going down. Well, Mark.
Where does the shuttle go?
The rocket.
cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go.
It's doing good so far.
Is it? Is that what always happens? Does it always go like that?
Yep.
It looks bad to me.
Mind control has
Sometimes doesn't work.
mind control has
Sometimes doesn't work.
It looks bad to me.
Sometimes doesn't work.
It's in space. Or is it? Is that it?
Yep, I think that's it.
Where does the shuttle go?
Omar.
Oh no, it's going down!
Well, Mark.
Where does the shuttle go?
It's going down!
Just płaska.
We lied.
Okay. The problem is, it's a lie.
Yeah. True. The shape of the firmament, do you see that? Whoa. Hold up now.
You know, all these big players in this world stage, they all know, and nothing, absolutely nothing is hidden from us. They put it all in plain sight for those that have good discernment that can see through all this. As you see, again, with V for Visitors, this 1983 TV series, and you see the flat earth model with the sun and the moon within. You can also see the constellations as well on the outside of the dome, and you see again the sun and the moon, and you can literally see how it makes the circular motion above the flat earth. And of course you see the four corners, definitely the biblical flat earth model. And again, nothing's hidden in this world. You know, they put the truth where it shouldn't be, and they lie to us where it shouldn't be, where the truth should be, and that's the news, the school textbooks. So again, this is the world of duality, the world of opposites. Once people see things like this and understand, they don't just pull these concepts out of thin air. Definitely a reason. Again, one thing I want to make perfectly clear, absolutely nothing is hidden in this world. 99% lies, but they do give us truth for those that can see through it all, that have good discernment.
It seeks power for its own sake, not as a means but an end. Power over the human mind, and because we control the mind, reality is inside the skull. We control the laws of nature. The stars are not light years, but a few kilometers away.
The shape of the firmament, do you see that?
Ever saw a snow globe? All right. Brent, show me a picture. I think I got a picture there. That's what it looks like. That's the firmament. All right? That's the firmament. It's a solid structure. In other places, God calls it a vault. It's a covering. We would call it a dome. All right? But there's some transparency to it. Okay? All right? This thing right here, no matter what they tell you, no matter what lies they tell you, this thing is impervious. You can't get through it. You can't get through it. Well, Pastor, they say we went to the moon. I'm gonna talk about the moon.
Security is going to be a very big factor with respect to space and space exploration. At some point in the future, we're going to look back and say, how did we do it without space? At some point in the future, we're going to look back and say, how did we do it without space?
Space, the final frontier.
Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement.
We're flying so high, we're cracking the sky. Gonna fly out of this dome, my girlfriend and I.
To another edition of Thunderdome!
Listen on.
This is the truth of it. Yet the fighting, it happens here, and it finishes here. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves.
We don't need another hero. We don't need to know the way home. All we want is what's beyond the Thunderdome.
You can't get through this thing. Job 37:18, talking about the firmament. Hast thou with him spread out the sky, Job? Did you spread out the sky? But this is more important. Have you spread out the sky, which is strong? How can the sky be strong? Solid structure. The sky is strong. What is it like? It's as a molten looking glass. It's transparent, but it's like a glass, but it's like a glass. You can't get through that. All right? That's wild, huh? Why would the Bible talk about windows in heaven if it wasn't enclosed? Oh, I bust somebody's head just now. All right? Oh, I got you. Look, because y'all just like, Pastor, that's too much. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Everything I say, I can come with it yet. The firmament. If you look at the NIV, can you join him in spreading out the skies? How the skies are? They are hard as a mirror of bronze, he says. No getting through that, though. People say, we going here, we going. You ain't going nowhere. Pastor, why is that the case? Watch now, Kip. You ready for some doctrine, Kip? Some systematic theology? The earth serves a dual purpose. It's our temporary home, but there is somebody else who was cast down here. The earth is both our temporary home, but it is also Lucifer's prison. He was cast down to the earth, cast out of the heavens. He don't like the firmament. Never did like it. Don't like me talking about it right now. Are you with me here so far? He hates the firmament like a prisoner hates the bars he wake up seeing every morning. He want out. He want out to fulfill his original goal of exalting his throne amongst the suns and the stars of God. You want to be in the mountain of God? God said, Bart, please. Bart, please. You ain't getting up there. So he convinced men to help him in his jailbreak attempts.
Join my sisters, and you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon you.
He want out. He want out. So he convinced men to help him in his jailbreak attempts.
So I go to Lubbock, and I'm doing this conference out there at Jared Cressman's father's church, Pastor Dan Cressman, and we get to talking about this whole issue of the flat Earth stuff. And he goes, "Do you know what the name Dominic means?" And I said, "No." He says, you talk about Operation Fishbowl, but check this out. Look up the name Dominic, D-O-M-I-N-I-C, from the late Latin name Dominicus, meaning of the Lord. Fishbowl was part of Operation Dominic. It looks like they are sending high-altitude nuclear bombs to test the fishbowl of the Lord.
So we built Babel, a tower, to reach to the top of the heavens.
And you will know my name is the Lord.
Fishbowl of the Lord.
If there was no firmament, what they building for? And why did God get offended by it? You see, when your theology get right, your system can understand what the Bible was talking about. And he's still at it to this day. CERN, the Hadron Collider, he's looking for a way out. Trying to make holes and rifts into reality, into the system, and chasms into creation. He's looking for a way out. He wants to continue the fight that he lost when Michael toppled him out of heaven. One of them brothers that you beat up and he said, next time I see you. But he got a problem, y'all, and it starts with an F. The problem is the firmament.
The shape of the firmament, do you see that?
An all-new episode of Under the Dome, featuring a special appearance by Bruce Willis.
Phil! You... I broke the dome. No! Don't do it! Crack the fucking dome! What are you gonna do, kill us? The dome will crack.
He want out. He want out?
Look out and fly. Break that glass ceiling and set us all free.
So Miranda symbolically there, breaking the glass ceiling.
You want to be in the mountain of God? God said, Bart, please. Bart, please.
He says, you know, you talk about Operation Fishbowl, but check this out.
Get it? Glass dome, gas dome, are you with me? Huh?
It's hard to say that I'd rather stay awake when I'm asleep, 'cause everything is never as it seems.
Hell would have frozen over at WrestleMania. The seas would have parted. The earth would have spun on its axis. The earth would have spun on its axis, because only fools believe in miracles. The earth would have spun on its axis. The earth would have spun on its axis.
You have to be willing to cut against the grain and get the distance from your peer group.
I know you've deceived me, now here's a surprise. I could see for miles and miles. I could see for miles and miles and miles and miles and miles. conceiving. All we see and hear, the truth has found. It's all good to see.
The earth was flat, if you went too far, you would fall off. Now the earth is round, if the shape change again, everybody would have started laugh. The average man can't prove of most of the things that he chooses to speak of. And still run research and find out the root of the truth that you seek of. Scholars teach in universities and claim that they're smart and cunning.
You ever saw a snow globe? You ever saw a snow globe?
I mean, I could have said the world was flat.
You know what I think? I think you accidentally told the truth.
Zika will be the first of many viruses over the years because the world is flat. These kind of mosquitoes are here in the United States, and we now know that these mosquitoes can get Zika virus very easily from biting somebody, and the world is flat, right?
Science, I'm on the run. Blinded by science, where do I belong? What's in the future? Has it just begun? Blinded by science, I'm on the run. I worry about the world that we live in. I'm worried by all the confusion. I wonder about the life science. I'm on the run. What's in the future? Has it just begun? Blinded by science, I'm on the run. I'm worried about the world that we live in. I'm worried about all the confusion. I wonder about the lies I've been reading. I wonder where this madness is leading. Is this a road going nowhere? With someone leading us somewhere? Can't believe we're here for no reason. There must be something we can believe in. Blinded by science, I'm on the run. I'm not an appliance. Don't turn me on. What's in the future? Has it just begun? Blinded by science, I'm on the run. Blinded by science, I'm on the run. I'm blinded by science.
We cannot leave the earth. There's no place to go.
It's still real to me, damn it! I mean,
That's where the bulk of the mind control has been done.
Thank you. Take it easy, man. Thank y'all guys. Y'all are awesome.
Jest płaska. Tak jak oczekują i nie spodziewałem się co prawda tego pytania, ale zapewniam pana, że jest płaska.
Thank you so much, Mr. Funk, for saying what needed to be said. I don't want to see another one of these.
I was reading a lot of stuff on the flat Earth.
Okay, yeah. True.
That's true?
Yeah. It's still real to me, damn it!
Because I wrote an interesting book. And that's the way it happened.
Not satellite.
Not satellite.
And it's a movie I think the American people want to see.
And the answer is no.
That stuff is flat.
And the answer is no.
That stuff is flat.
They admitted was a composite.
A balloon.
Not satellite.
Not satellite.
We're random flat, aren't we?
Definitely.
We are, aren't we?
Flat as a
Thank
pancake,
you.
mate. Flat as a pancake.
And the answer is no.
Thank you so much, Mr. Funk, for saying what needed to be said. I don't want to see another one of these.
Że jest płaska.